I do have online a businesswoman and social activist, Ms. Kezel Jackson. And we're catching her at the right time because I know she's making her way perhaps to travel. Pleasant good evening to you, Ms. Jackson.
A pleasant good evening to you as well as your listeners.
Thank you so much. And of course, our viewers here on Gayelle. It's been a while since we've had you on, and I know a lot has taken place. But you have recently picked up, should I say, the fight advocating for those who seem to be at the mercy of our banking system here in Trinidad and Tobago. As you call it, of course, bank bullying. And what inspired you to get involved in this? Because this is such a broad issue where so many people have spoken about the fact that they had some just horrible experiences with dealing with the banks.
But this is nothing new. Since 2011, I have been advocating for financial equity, especially as it relates to the lower classes in our society, giving them the same opportunities as you will give to the well-to-do, giving them a sense of mobility, because most of these businesses are strapped. They have a liquidity problem, and the bank is not taking any risk whatsoever. They have taken a zero approach in terms of helping the lower echelon, helping the small businessman, helping the small to medium enterprises grow in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, but where would you fit into this? Because, I mean, so many people have tried. I've spoken to Trevor Hostin. I've spoken to so many people who say, listen, at the end result, you get blacklisted. You know, the bank distance themselves from you. But do people understand that when you talk about things like ridiculous profit, that many of our banks, when it comes to posting their quarterly or annually, you know, report, even making money in the midst of a global pandemic. I mean, that in itself didn't make sense. Leaving many people that you're speaking about and trying to represent very vulnerable. There was no economic lifeline for many of these small retailers. People weren't able to keep the lights on. I mean, at the end of it all, is this something that you think people understand when you take a stand for them on this issue?
They may not be fully cognizant. But I always say that no evolution can be born without education. And for us to evolve as a society, for us to want better, we have to start somewhere.
All right. But, first of all, who for many of our viewers, and we have a large curriculum viewers, who is Kezel Jackson?
A beautiful question. I am first a humanitarian. And I would say I'm an author, I'm an educator, I am a political activist. I am one of those persons that I'm a fighter as well. So if I believe in something, I would fight for it. I would call myself a revolutionist. Yeah? One that has been unmasked, so I have nothing to hide. One that has used her pain and create purpose. One that has rise above. And I would call myself a phoenix, rising from the ashes.
Yeah, but based on, I mean, the things that you represent, you've traveled the globe, you've interacted with so many people, different forums, different conferences. You don't have to step out of your comfort zone, so why do this?
It's a call. Sometimes that same question you're asking me, I ask myself sometimes, but it's a call. You know, I always tell people that when I die, I don't want you to write my legacy on my tombstone, but I rather wanted to write it in the heart and the mind of people that I leave behind. I really want to leave a legacy because we are all accountable, my dear friend, be it good or bad. We are accountable for everything that we do in this life. And to those who much is given, much more is expected.
What's your take on the just concluded local government elections?
Well, what I would say is that, absentee voters, we saw that. This was probably the lowest ever. I predicted that we would have had probably about 30% voter turnout, which was proven. The people feel marginalized. They feel ostracized. They feel as though that the government no longer represents the people. And when I say government, I speak both about the ruling party as well as the opposition. They both encompass the government. So there's a change of the tide in this country, in Trinidad and Tobago. We will see that a little further, come closer to the general election, when the people could send a message to the government of the day that enough is enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as the whole banking industry, what would you like to see implemented? I mean, based on what factors? Is it for the small business player, someone who would have room to develop? What are some of the things that you would like to see implemented based on your experiences and the fact that you're picking up this flag to represent those who may not have a voice?
Yes. What I would like to see, the Bankers Association listen a little more to Central Bank. Because the chairman of Central Bank asked these banks that let us have a little more financial inclusivity. Let us make the unbanked bankable. There are many persons in Trinidad and Tobago who are still unbanked, that the restrictions and the requirements is too stringent just to open a bank account. In the developed countries, we are still developing. In the developed countries, they're not asking for all of that. One form of ID, a proof of address, that's it. Your bank account is open. But in our country, our little island, we are asking for 2 forms of ID. They don't understand the opportunity cost to have 2 forms of ID, especially where we live in a society where more than 20% of our society lives in abject poverty. 2 forms of ID means that they have to consider the opportunity cost of attaining a driver's license. That is $500 they could have put on the table for food. So it's a real opportunity cost. They're not considering the general poor people. They're not seeing. It's almost as though there's a total disconnect. It's either in our society you're rich or you're poor. I want to see the banking system be a little more flexible. I want to see them go into a direction of a cashless society that the world is going. First world countries, they're moving to a cashless society. How can we move into a cashless society when the banking system in our country is so archaic? It is so draconian. They need to keep up with the times. Then they ask you for job letter and pay slip. Housewives would not have job letter and pay slip. And these housewives, I call them the first minister of finance. Then it is a form of discrimination when they ask that they need to get authorization from their husbands in order to open an account. Really? This is 2023, but no one speaks up about it. Our politician is not representing the agenda. Why? Because of who the financiers are. You understand? So who fill the pocket, control the string.
And you have been toying for quite some time now whether or not you're going to launch a political party. If given the opportunity, if you decide to, will these be some of the topics you will, of course, be addressing on the platform?
Of course, these are the topics I will be addressing. This is the foundation. So whatever is your backbone is what you built upon, yeah?
Definitely. And of course, what's going to be your next move as far as now that you've started this campaign, you stuck your neck out, you made it quite clear that the whole bank bullying issue needs to be stopped. You're going to highlight it even more. What is your next step?
I leave that for you to see. Sometimes it's better for us to move in the dark. The most amount of growth is in the dark because they do not know how and where you are coming from. But it is going to surprise our country because I think the citizens of this country has reached that turning point and nothing can be done, no change can be had unless the citizens of themselves decide that we had enough.
All right. I want to thank you so much for taking time out and linking with us this evening on The Observer. And of course, we'll be checking in with you periodically to see how things develop. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so kindly. Do have a good evening.
Same to you.